Guys, we're back with another interview for CaliberTV. I'm here with Kellin Quinn, frontman of Sleeping with Sirens and Scene Legend.
Oh, nice. But what does my name say in the Zoom?
Kyle Kwan. It's too funny. Oh my God. I know that you had two collabs on the album. You had Charlotte Sands and you had Spencer Chamberlain of Under Oath on with you as well. So what made you bring them on? Just out of curiosity, because obviously Chamberlain is a legend and Charlotte Sands is extremely talented. What made you want to bring them on?
Charlotte did an interview somewhere and tagged me in it and said, I think the person interviewing her tagged me in it. So I watched, and she said that one of her dreams would be to collaborate with me. And when we were kicking around ideas for a feature, I thought that she'd be great for that song. And yeah, she delivered, and it's amazing. As far as Spencer goes, we've been friends with Spencer for a long, long time. When he's, we've played a lot of shows with him when he was doing Sleepwave, and also I've been a fan of Under Oath for, they're like one of my favorite bands and one of the first bands to get me into wanting to be involved in this type of music. So I sent him the liked it, and it was kind of like one of those things where it could have gone both ways, but he said he was down to do it, and it just worked out. So that's how it just kind of organically happened that way. I'm pretty precious about my vocal parts, so I'm not really like stoked to give them away unless it's actually going to make the song better. So I feel like they both did. And it's funny to see a lot of people that like review the tracks and stuff. They're like, oh, wow, like Spencer and Charlotte have like really big parts on this song. And I'm like, I'm not going to give a feature to someone and just give them like 1 second of a song. It's like, if you're on it, you're going to be on the whole damn thing,
Yeah, for sure. A Complete Collapse comes out soon. So how does the album title coincide with what you could expect from the upcoming album? Because Complete Collapse is a strong title for an album.
Yeah, I mean, the album is a mix of things. It's kind of about me looking back on my life up to this point and just how much of a struggle I've had with just mental health and stuff. And it could have gone both ways. I could have completely collapsed or come back stronger than before. So it's kind of a play on that. I think that when it comes to mental health, there's a very thin line that you cross, and it's either you fight to come back or you completely collapse. And I also think that just with everything that's happened in the world, especially with like COVID and stuff like that, I think that our world is kind of completely collapsed. And so it's kind of a play on both those things. To tie it in, like how does it affect the album? There's just a lot of songs pertaining to both those things. And it's a really aggressive yet melodic album that I think that fans that love our first record, How It Feels to Be Lost, Madness, and Let's Cheers to This will really love it.
I'm a huge fan of Let's Cheers to This.
Thank you.
I grew up listening to everything that you guys have put out, so I'm really excited to hear this new one and see what the reflection of everything that you guys have done up until now kind of put into this album, and it's going to be super cool. So that's really exciting. Is there a track in particular on this album that you're most excited for everyone to hear, aside from the singles that came out already?
Yeah, I really like Be Happy with Royal and the Serpents. That song, it just feels really special to me. When we were writing it, like everything about it just felt like it meshed really well. I think like the guitars, the music, the vocals, and the feature and everything about it is like, I think, perfect. I'm excited for people to hear that. I think that fans are really going to love a song called Family Tree, which that track kind of gives a nod to A Trophy Father's Trophy Son. There's like a line from that song that's in this song as well. So it's kind of a cool nod to that era. But, there's things I love about every single one of them. But I think the two in general are my favorite.
You guys just wrapped up your tour, Ctrl+Alt+Delete. You guys toured with Don Broco, Point North, and Garzi, who you also did a track with. What was it like working with Garzi?
Garzi's great. Point North is great. I think that, these young and upcoming artists, I mean, I'm not saying like they're young people, but like just young in terms of, starting in their career. I think Point North is a little farther along than Garzi. It's crazy to see the fire in their eyes and in their hearts and everything. It's like they go on stage, like everything is like to the limit, It's like, it's almost like they have a checklist of everything that they've got to like get done for that one show. And it reminds me of like a young me and just like how I felt coming up and like, you know, having to prove yourself. So I think that both those artists are really hungry, and I think they're going to do really, really great things, and they're all sweethearts. So that's definitely, you know, a plus.
Right. So you said there was kind of like this hunger with them while you were on tour with them, and you said they're all very, very sweet. So was there anything in particular on tour, like a tour memory or something that went on, or a venue in particular that kind of stood out for you, whether it was one of their sets that you were watching or something that happened with Sleeping with Sirens or you in particular?
The coolest thing for me on tour, this one specifically, is just the energy from the shows. Having not played like a full like tour, playing like one-off shows is different. But getting into the groove and finding like that perfect sweet spot, finally it takes like usually like 3 or 4 days of shows, and then finally you're like, okay, like, you know, like the rhythm, you know, the order of the songs. It's like, I feel like the first 2 shows are kind of awkward. So once you get past those like 3 shows and you're in the groove, it was electric on this tour. Like the fans were amazing. Like it could have gone both ways. It could have been like half sold rooms. It could have been like 10 people there. But it doesn't really matter. I mean, the fact that there's people there at all and the energy level was on high was an incredible experience. And it's one that I'll remember forever, for sure. Is that an Emmure or an Emmure sweatshirt?
Oh, it's Emmure.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm all over the board with what I listen to. So
We did a tour with Emmure.
oh God, I could have wished to God that I could have been to that, because I would have been in all of my glory.
Yeah, like I remember being like, Emmure, like that is like the complete opposite side of the spectrum. But like but for some reason, like it worked. I don't know. Like I remember playing and seeing like big dudes that are like there to like get rowdy in the pit, like singing front row James Dean. And then when we were done playing, like going up in the balcony and just watching them just pulverize each other in the pit during Emmure. It was a really crazy experience, but it was one that I'll remember forever, for sure. I think that like one of the best shows I ever saw was like, let me try to think of what it was. It was Thrice. And I think that they played like towards the end. I think the first band was like from first to last when Sonny Moore was in the band.
Wow.
And then it was like Thrice, and then it was like Dashboard Confessional.
Oh my God.
Like all those bands wouldn't make sense. I think Motion City Soundtrack was on it. Like it was like a really weird bill, but like it was incredible to see like Thrice, and then afterwards just like sing your heart out to Dashboard. Like
yeah, Vindicated comes on and everyone starts crying.
But I think that that's what makes like a good show, you know? Like I don't know that everybody wants to go watch the same style of music like 4 bands in a row, like unless it's like your 4 favorite bands. But it's just kind of nice to break it up and have different kind of like textures, you know?
No, yeah, absolutely. Completely agree with that. Because it's like you said, if you have 4 of the same people in a row, it's almost, it's not, I don't want to say repetitive because every band has their own sound. But when you have, like you said, like you have Dashboard Confessional to a death metal or metalcore band, it's a mix up. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But, you know, you grew up in the era of Warped Tour and emo. Obviously, we're talking about Dashboard Confessional and everybody. But I'm curious to know what bands or artists have influenced you growing up through the years, because now obviously you have your own sound. Everyone kind of knows the voice as soon as it comes on. So who's influenced you from the very beginning?
Well, from the very beginning, I'd say like The Used, Under Oath, from first to last, bands like Boys Night Out, bands like The Starting Line, Census Fail, like all those bands, like growing up, like those were like my niche bands. This band called Matchbook Romance. But I'd say like now as I'm continuing to grow as a musician, I think that it's important to like continue to like evolve. I'm listening to like shit that I've never listened to that came out like earlier or around the same time as my band, like Title Fight.
Oh,
Never
so
heard
good.
that until like a month or 2 ago, and now I'm obsessed. That's like all I've been listening to is that Floral Green album, like on repeat. And then this band called Quicksand, that's kind of like, I guess I talked to Nick, my guitar player, about it, and he's like, dude, Quicksand, you've never heard Quicksand? I'm like, no. He's like, bro, they're like the reason the Deftones are the Deftones and stuff like that. So like getting into stuff like that has been crucial for me because it opens up my brain to like thinking like, man, if we could like influence some of this with Sleeping with Sirens, it's going to be like really, really cool later on down the road.
Title Fight is, when Title Fight came out? I think 2015, I believe. I was in high school still, but first song I heard was Head in the Ceiling Fan. That blew my mind. I had never heard anything like that really, and it kind of just stuck with me. So when you started talking about Floral Green too, in particular, I was like, yep. I was like, yeah, dude, absolutely.
I think it's like perfect from start to finish, you know?
Yeah.
It's great. Like, love it. That's all I've really been listening to is those two bands. So
it's cool. It's cool hearing of like you listen to like the newer era, basically, of like kind of like where Title Fight is and Turnstile, Citizen, Movements, all of those kinds of bands. Hearing that there can even be an influence from them and how the scene has always been like a community. That's something that's always been so cool.
I feel like that world in particular, like bands like Title Fight and Turnstile, which by the way, Glow On is an amazing record. I listened to that one. Like, I think that was my most listened to record from 2021. But like, I think that those bands, the community that they have is it's continued to be this DIY, like help each other out thing, you know?
Right.
And nothing but love. And the thing that I've always found the most interesting about it is like, those are heavy bands with a lot of aggression and a lot of like pent up frustration. But at the end of the day, like there's so much love and compassion within that community at the shows with the people and, you know, the bands themselves. And that's something that I think that more bands within the world that we all live in should kind of aspire to, you know?
Yeah, for sure. So it's like you said, there's like a very loving community around the scene in particular that people don't even realize sometimes. Like I grew up in it, so I know exactly what you're referring to, where it's almost like there's like a pit etiquette. Like everyone's beating each other up in a pit, but if someone falls, you pick them right back up.
Right.
So there's that feeling of unison, and I feel like that's always happened at your shows too, especially.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I mean, we try to keep everybody as safe as possible.
Right, yeah. But, you know, we're talking about the scene. We're talking about the community of the scene. So something happened recently, and I'm talking about TikTok now a little bit.
Okay.
Something happened on TikTok, and King for a Day blew up all over social media. People started using trends. They started using the sound, and it became one of the top trending sounds on social media in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
What is your take on that? Because obviously, it's one of the biggest scene songs of all time, hands down. Everybody knows it if you grew up in it. You were on that. So what has that been like? What is the nostalgia? It has to bring up some sort of nostalgia.
For me, what it does is it brings, well, first of all, I think that a good song is a good song no matter how old it is, you know? I mean, the proof is in me discovering like records that I never like really gave a chance or like listened to at the time.
Right.
And back, and it doesn't matter how old the record is, like if it's a good song, it's a good song. So I think that kind of shows like how well that track is. I think it's like a perfect blend of everything that is our world, really.
Right.
It's got like a heavy breakdown in it. It's got, you know, the melodic vocals, and it's got just kind of everything. It's like you said, it's like the scene standard track. And I think that it was just kind of the right place, the right time. You know, I remember specifically recording my parts for that song in my homie's bedroom on like a really shitty laptop on a really shitty microphone.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and not knowing how it was going to turn out, you know, and sending it to Vic and waiting for like 4 hours for a reply, thinking that he hated all my parts and stuff, but ended up liking it. You know, it reminds me of like our tours together, playing shows and coming out and doing that song. And just, it's going to be cool to like do something with that on, you know, at When We Were Young Fest and be on stage with those guys again. I haven't seen them in person for a very, very long time. So, yeah, I'm just stoked. You know, I'm glad that people are hearing it. And if they're hearing it for the first time and maybe getting into other bands and other songs within our world is great. I'm glad that it's an open door.
It's almost like, I want to say like an emo rebirth, because now they're starting to come forward and listen to more and more of everything. Oh my God.
Yeah, getting into everything.
I completely froze. All I saw was the cat, and I was like, no way.
That's why I keep looking up, because he's just getting into, he opened that drawer right there, and now he's just going for it. His
What's his name?
name's Ozzy.
Oh, that's a great name.
He's the Prince of Darkness.
But yeah, I know that, like you said before, you mentioned we were when we were Young Fest. That's coming up soon. That's got to be exciting.
Yeah, it's gonna be really cool. Like, there's a lot of bands and artists on that that I've never seen live. Like, I think I've seen Paramore for 2 seconds in Australia one time.
Wow.
We were doing the same festival, and it was kind of when I was passing through, and that was cool. But I've never really seen them. Like, I feel like seeing Haley as she is now is going to be like an incredible experience, because I feel like she's become like this, I don't know, like this rock superstar. And then
Yeah.
of course, like My Chem, I've never seen them live ever, so I'm excited to see My Chem. And Jimmy Eat World, I'm excited to see them. I've seen them at a festival like a long time ago, but I really love that band. So there's a lot of bands that I'm interested in checking out, and I'm going to try to, make the most of both weekends and try to see as many as I can,
Yeah, for sure. That's gonna be a stellar weekend, because when that tour dropped, I remember seeing everybody's names on it, and all of social media, really, the internet basically broke. I've never seen anything like that before. It was like beyond, like, people that like kind of have moved on from whatever, like this specific community and genre, all of a sudden started flocking back. So that's been really cool to see too.
If you put all of those bands together, like whether you like all of them or not, like there's so many to like see, it's like, it is like kind of the dream emo vacation. So
exactly. The emocation, if you will.
Yeah.
Really excited to have the album coming out. You said October 14th. Really excited. Everyone's going to look out for that. So that was Kellin Quinn, Sleeping with Sirens. Awesome. Thank you so much again for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Message to the people watching: go outside if it's not smoky. Get some fresh air. Read some books. Get some exercise. Don't just stay inside all day. That's my words of wisdom. It'll help your mental. Trust it.
Words of wisdom with Kellin Quinn. Everyone should take that, I'm sure. Yeah, guys, once again, Complete Collapse, available everywhere October 14th. Look out for it. Really excited. And that'll do it. I'll catch you guys next time.
Peace.